In this video we're going to look at using find and replace to change values in fields in records. There are two find and replace options in the CRS. There's the simple find and replace, which you activate from this button, and there's the advanced find and replace, which you activate from this button. And both of them have different functions. The simple find and replace lets you change values in a field quickly, and the advanced find and replace lets you change them in a more sophisticated way. So let's look first of all at the simple find and replace. If we click the button, the find and replace window pops up. We get the option to change all records in the table or just marked records in the table. And that refers to this table of records that we've got here. For the sake of this demonstration, we'll just pick a word that we know is in the title so that we can see whether things have changed or not. We'll pick the first word there is the word natural. So let's type in the word natural. And we want to change it to something that's going to be obvious. So again, for the sake of this demonstration, we're going to change natural to natural XXX. Of course, we wouldn't want to do that in real life, but by putting the XXX, it means we'll have a very clear indication of whether things have worked or not. We then need to tell it which field we want to change the value in, and we're not doing it in the abstract field. We're going to do it in the title field, so we choose title. We do want to match case. We don't have to, but in this case we will. And we want to say that we want to match all occurrences. So we'll tick that. Then all we need to do is to click replace. It'll ask us to confirm. We say yes. And it goes and tells us that it's made 6 changes. Now we can see straight away that one of those changes appears here. But what we can also do, let's get rid of this box, is to find those occurrences within the current data set. And we do that with the find, which is Control F. So I'm pressing Control F. That pops up the find in record list window. I'm going to type in natural XXX and click next. What that will do is scan through all the records in the current table and find occurrences of the word that we're looking for in any field. So it's just a quick way of moving between records. Click next again. That'll get the third one and the fourth one and the fifth one and the sixth one. Okay, so we're going to close that now. Now what we want to do, we don't want to leave the data in this form because clearly the record shouldn't be natural XXX. So we're just going to go back in and we're going to change them back again. So if we choose the find and replace button again, we say we want to work on all records. We're going to look for natural XXX. We're going to change it back to natural. And we're working in the title field. We want to match case. We want to change all occurrences. We'll say yes please. It goes off and makes the 6 changes and we can see straight away that it's changed it back. And that's it. That's a quick way to do find and replace on any field within the data set. So let's close that down now and go and look at the advanced find and replace. We activate that with this button here and we can see straight away that this gives us some more options. Again, we can select all the records in the table or just work on the marked records. But what we do to those records is more sophisticated and controlled by this section here. The first thing we can do is to copy the contents of one field to another. So if we click next, we see that we've got some options here. So it's asking us to say, copy the contents from this field and put them into this field. So let's see what we can do. Let's take, for example, the contents of author. And we might want to put them into, let's just pick a field, editors. We get the option to clear the contents from the field that we've copied from. So if we tick that, it would take the contents of author, put them into the editors field, and then remove anything that was in the authors field. So it cleared it out. So that's like moving data from one field to another. We click next. We could just go ahead and process, which would go and do what we've asked it to do, or we could ask it to show us the changes that it's going to make. So if we click changes, we can see that what it's going to do is to take the contents of the author field and it's going to copy them over in the contents of the edited field. So at the end of the process, what we'd end up with is what we're seeing on the screen here. So we'd have authors still containing authors, but now editors also contains whatever was in the authors field. Close that down. We're not going to process it because we don't actually want to make that change. We can just go back and look at what the other options are. So if we click back again, we're back to the main set of options. The next one is to prepend text to field content. What that lets you do is to put some boilerplate text at the beginning of a field. So for example, let's look at the volume field. If you wanted to have all of your volume fields contain the word vol, colon, you just type in the text that you want to appear at the beginning of the field, click next, click view changes, and you can see that the original field is shown here. This is what the original value is now before we make the changes, and this is what it would look like after we've made the changes. So again, we'll close that down. We're not going to process, but we are going to move back and have a look at another option. Well, append, that's pretty obvious. That's exactly the same as prepend, but it puts text at the end of a field instead of at the beginning. We've got the option to append the contents of one field to another, so we can go and have a look at that. If we click next, we can pick the two fields. So we're going to take the text from, for example, the author field, and we're going to put it at the end of, for example, the title field. And we can, if we want to, add a bit of text between those two fields. So if we say yes, we do want to add some text, and we're going to add the word author. Again, if we go and view the changes, we can see that what that will do is take the title as the original field. It will put the word author at the end of the title, and following that it'll put the actual contents of the author field for each of the records. So we've got the title, followed by our boilerplate text, followed by the contents of the field. When we click process, that would become the content of the title field. So it'd replace what was in the title field. Close that down and go back. The final thing we can do is to set the full text of a field, and all that means is that we're going to set the text in a particular field to be whatever we type it in here. So if we wanted to set the value of every field in a set of records to be some kind of comment that we wanted to apply to those records, we could type the comment in here. We could tell it which field we wanted to put that text in, might go in the comments field, add it to the list of fields that we're going to put it into here, click next, view changes, and we can see that the new value of the field would just be the boilerplate text that we've told it to put in. And that's quite useful if you're going to select a set of records ahead of time and just apply a single value into one field. So we'll close that down. What we've seen is that with the simple find and replace, we can quickly change the values of the contents of a field, and with the advanced find and replace, we can be more sophisticated in the way that we combine fields and manipulate the data.